Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Sisters interview. I'm a Shaxi from Montier. My sister is Sarifkin from Montier, and we interview people. And tonight, our very special.
Yes, we do.
Oh my gosh. Tonight, our guest is Duke Valharic. And I have to confess, I don't know where you currently reside. Where are you right now?
I'm in the Middle Kingdom.
Okay.
Which is kind of where I started.
Okay. So tell us about that. How did you find the SCA, and what made you fall in love with it?
Well, I was 14 years old when I found the SCA. I was participating in a LARP group called Dagger Hair, and I heard about Pinzig. And that summer, I ran away from home and I went to Pinzig, and I don't think I've ever actually come back.
That's awesome.
That's really cool.
So you were underage on your own, kind of, at the event, or did you have an adult kind of sponsor?
I would say I had an adult kind of sponsor. I think that's a great way of putting it.
And did that person turn into sort of a mentor for you and kind of teach you the ropes? And
probably in the beginning, but they were more involved with the Dagger Hair organization. And I kind of, as soon as I saw the SCA, I saw that there was so much more that I could be doing. And I was always more interested in slightly more historical and less fantasy. So I moved in that direction. Also, the intensity of the combat was much more of a martial art than the foam fighting, and that also appealed to me.
Awesome. So where did you go from there? Pinzig is a pretty big event for your first event.
I met the Household Darkyard at that first Pinzig and kind of formed ties with them, and eventually joined Darkyard and was squired to the head of that household, Forgan Aurelius. So during that time, I would Greyhound bus up to Detroit and sometimes catch rides with other friends, and sometimes hitchhike and check out events, and kind of I was really not very forthcoming with how old I was all of the time, so that kind of helped and hindered things along the way.
I was also like that at 14, but not within the SCA. So I get that.
So were you fighting at 14 then?
Theoretically.
Okay. Well, we're looking back. I don't think you're going to get in trouble anymore. But so how did Dagger here has different armor standards than the SCA, right?
Right.
So how did you upgrade your kit?
Well, for Dagger Hair, I had very little to no armor, maybe some chainmail. There was an individual who had played in the SCA and had a bunch of armor, and they lent that to me. It was coat of plates, some really poorly fitting, very heavy plate legs, and a flat top helmet, and I was ready to go. Along the way, I learned that I didn't really like armor, and I still don't fight in very much of it at all. And as a result of that, I don't like getting hit either. So I got good by aversion therapy.
Nice.
So how long was it before you decided to squire to somebody?
I squired, I think I was about 22. I was in the military, and it was about the time that I really committed to the SCA as a full-time kind of participant, and not just, hey, this is going on this weekend and I'm free.
And where were you located then?
Detroit, Michigan.
Okay, you're still in Detroit. Because when I look at your OP listing, you have awards from like 5 different kingdoms, and it looks like you did a lot of sort of your growing up in Atlantia.
Atlantia was, I moved to that kingdom almost like 6 months after I stepped down as Crown of the Middle.
Okay.
And if, I know this is going to break some people's heart, but other people are going to cheer. If I had a home in the SCA, I feel like Atlantia was my home. It's like, I don't know, it was a place that I could be me without my past, without being looked at as the kid. So I feel like it is really good for you to say that I grew up there. I really honed who I am and what I wanted to be about in the SCA.
Cool. So I've talked to a few people that have sort of started the SCA early and have battled sort of getting over being the kid. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey through that?
Well, I mean, I hung out with a lot of adults, and I did a lot of things that were probably immature, but probably right on par for where I should be. But you know, the way that I came across was maybe harshly judged from people who didn't have the same perspective. I don't know. I always tried to be a good person in general, but I think sometimes early on things got in the way of that.
I guess what one of the things I'm sort of getting at is was one of the hurdles to getting knighted sort of more of the maturity level PLQs than the fighting? And if so, how did you overcome that?
I think that that's absolutely the question. And it's kind of odd circumstance how I overcame it. I had a lot of personal tragedy happen at that time in my life, and it forced me to change my priorities and the way that I viewed things. And I had a lot of very, very positive support from peers and friends in the SCA. And it was kind of a crucible. And I came out strong enough that they saw those qualities aside from my fighting.
Cool. That's cool. Did you start as a sword and board fighter?
Yes. I authorized in every other weapon style at my 3rd event. I went to my initial authorization event and authorized sword and shield, and then I went down to Columbus, Ohio, and there was an event there, and I authorized in everything else that day. But primarily I was fighting polearm and bastard sword as my favorite styles, and then spear and Dane axe in melees. And then I got when I got more serious about participating in tournaments, sword and shield. I think I actually started with Mason Shield, which was very popular in the mid-realm at that time. That's what Duke Brannis was fighting at the time. He's my squire brother, and also Duke Rongvalder. So a lot of Dark Yard had a lot of Mason Shield at that time. So I kind of rolled into that, and then was never really great with that. So a sword was a better option for me.
Did you say that Brannos was your squire brother?
Yes.
Okay, that's cool. So you sort of grew up with fighting him.
Yes. I mean, you know, he's the one who taught me how to drive a car. So
Really?
yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
When you say that you went into Dark Yard household, we're like, okay, we don't know what that is. But when you say that Branos was your, and that we get some context, and that's like, oh, okay, so this is what you're growing up in, and this is what you're coming up in.
They were an amazing second family to me, and I'm still terribly close with them, and that's where I camp at Pinzig, and yeah, right on.
That's really cool.
That is cool.
So what, you started in the middle, you moved down to Atlantia. Kind of, I'm trying to get a handle on your timeline of where you've lived and played, and what that looked like, and why.
So when I was 24, I fought in my first Crown tournament, and I finaled with Duke Edmund. I lost that Crown tournament, and I fought in the next Crown tournament and made it to the quarterfinals, and then I won the third Crown tournament, and I won that for Elise Catherine, who was my one of my best friends growing up's mom, and she used to take us to meetings. And when I was looking for a consort to fight for, I thought that it would be really great to fight for her. So in between that first Crown tournament and the second Crown tournament and the third Crown tournament, in between the second and the third, I got knighted. And then I immediately won Crown tournament. Following, I reigned in the middle, and then 6 months later moved to Atlantia.
So you didn't really start fighting Crown until after you got squired.
Yes.
Okay.
I actually didn't. My knight unfortunately passed away, and I didn't fight in a Crown tournament when he was alive.
Okay. Was that sort of a rule he had, or?
It would have been had it ever come up, but
Spoken.
I think so. I kind of, part of me fighting in Crown tournament and was my knight had passed away, and a lot of the other knights weren't really sure how to handle me. And part of that was me fighting in Crown to kind of show them where I was prowess-wise. I made a lot of very poor decisions during that time of my life in the SCA. Like, I thought that the best way for me to get the attention of the knights was if somebody got knighted, I would physically beat them up as bad as I could. Probably not the best choice, but that was, and then eventually Branos kind of took me under his wing, and we worked through the end game in a much more positive light.
I don't think that is an uncommon choice for a younger, really good fighter to sort of say, hey, look, I'm fighting really well too. So I just kind of want to acknowledge that, because I think that is a very common reaction to sort of establish where you think you are in the pecking order, is just like, everybody, like the new knight always has a target on them, right? So you say it like it's this horrible thing you did, but I think it's pretty common. Anyway,
I think it makes the path a little harder, especially in the mid realm. I had a few things stacked up against me. I was very, very military, and a lot of the knights in the area that I was living in were very, very academic.
okay.
And my kind of cut to the chase curtness was difficult for them to bear, where in Atlantia made me fit right in. And and feel at home with a lot more of their populace being prior military or military.
But being aware of how your actions affect others or being perceived by others is really actually a sign of maturity. So it's cool that Branos took you under his wing and sort of guided you to where you needed to be for the culture you were in. But I want to talk about your first crown and finaling, because I think that is a very what's the word I'm looking for?
I'm trying to help you out.
Exemplary thing to do. I mean, it's extraordinary. So had you been fighting in a lot of other kinds of tourneys? Have you, did you already?
No, I kind of came out of nowhere.
Okay.
Like the people in Michigan had a pretty good idea what my prowess level was, but I was kind of a sleeper in that tournament. And I don't think any of my fights went more than 3 shots in the tournament until the finals. Not to be, I fought a very, very good, very, very intense tournament. And, I was in the best physical condition that I had been in my life, and was very much prepared. The only downside to that is that my consort at the time was not so greatly prepared. I remember having to get her from the parking garage where she was out having a cigarette so that we could walk up for our procession for the final fight. And
Nice.
she was not she tried her very best, but she was not a stellar character in my life.
She's not the person you ended up reigning with.
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Either time.
Okay.
So Mineko wants to know, what sort of fighting changes stylistically did you have to make between winning in the mid-realm and fighting in Atlantia?
So I adopted the use of a thrusting tip in Atlantia, and I changed what I was wearing armor-wise, and fought a much more passive, relaxed style where I let a opponent who was more apt to have a larger shield and a longer sword press the attack and take advantages as they provided it. It did teach me a ton of patience. In the mid-realm, I fought a very, very close A-game fight, and Atlantia taught me how to be cagey and wait for opportunities in fighting.
Are you left-handed?
Yes, super left-handed.
Okay, super left-handed. All right.
I don't even know what the right one's for.
Oh, okay. So I think that's really interesting what you said about changing for Atlantia, because just from the outside looking in, it seems like they fight very A game and on top of each other. But can you explain why you added a thrusting tip? Like, what was the reasoning?
I am not incredibly physically large individual, and occasionally my power generation was not enough to best my opponent. So I put the thrusting tip into the game because it ended the question. The positive force face thrust was exactly that. It took the question out of it, and I'd work an opponent, and eventually I would end them with a thrust.
Very cool. Very cool. Are you writing down the questions, Ashaksi?
I am.
Okay, good. You have a lot of questions. You're a very popular guy. So
that's terrifying.
It's all supportive and everyone's on your team. So
yes.
All good.
Yes. I want to go back though to before you left for Atlantia and when you got knighted, because it sounds like Branos took you under his wing. When you got knighted, I'm guessing it probably wasn't a surprise for you.
was totally a surprise.
Oh, it was. Okay. Will you tell
Yeah,
us about it?
I had come to the conclusion that knighthood was no longer my path or my end game. I had come to the decision that what I wanted to be was the best fighter in the SCA. And as soon as I changed that mindset, I think it pushed me over the edge. You know, I was knighted, I won a crown, but I stopped focusing on the narrow goal of knighthood and started focusing on being the best person that I can be and trying to be the best fighter in the known world, which, you know, is a goal that I still diligently work at, and probably will never obtain, but still got to keep the eye on the prize.
Well, it's kind of immeasurable, right? So it's kind of a cool goal that way, where you can keep working for it and nobody can really ever definitively say who's the best. I don't think, but I think that's cool. So
do you want me to pull one of these?
Can I ask one more knighthood question?
Yes, please, because I'm still writing.
So you said that you sort of gave up on the idea. What was your idea of knighthood, and when you finally got knighted, was it different? Is the experience different than what you thought it would be?
You know, it's very weird because there was only one event that I got knighted at Pinzig. I went to coronation, and that was my one event as a knight, and then I was the prince. So I never really got a knighthood.
Okay.
I went from, you know, from brand new knight to brand new prince.
So you had like a month of being a knight and not a royal peer, and then you're a royal peer forever.
Yes.
So, yeah. Okay.
Can you tell us about your vigil?
Oh, my vigil was killer. So Brannis decided that he put it forth this way. He said that that I was a hero, like from ancient times, like from Greek and Roman mythology, and that I should have a night of tasks and labors. So they built this huge fire up at the fort. It was the first year the Pinzig had a fort. And at the gates of Pinzig, I matched every challenge from sunset to sunrise. I fought 350 single combats. I fought about 75 multiple opponent on myself combats. I had a bare knuckle boxing match. I wrestled a pig farmer from Atlantia. I belly danced. I ran a foot race. I had one guy come up and he had a sack of gold coins and of gold dollars, and he threw me the sack, and he asked me how many were inside, and I guessed, and he took out the balance of the guess, and then gave me that and told me to buy something fitting of my new station, which I thought was really cool. That stuck with me. People asked me all kinds of trivia questions. Whatever anybody wanted to do, I did. The Tinkers came up and they had like all kinds of like games of skill that I did. And the Tinkers performed, Volgamut performed.
Oh, cool.
There was a keg and food, and everybody just watched everybody else beat the shit out of me. It was amazing.
So did Brannos set you on these quests, or were these like people like, I want to wrestle you, like the pig farmer, or was that like something?
I could not, Brannis set it up that I could not deny any challenge.
Oh.
No.
So there was drinking contests.
Wow.
Somebody shot arrows at me and I dodged arrows. Combat arrows, not real arrows.
Okay.
A little more exciting, but
wow.
I fought with donuts.
You did what with donuts?
There was a donut fighting match where we threw donuts at each other. So it was a pretty epic vigil.
And it sounds like it was perfect for you.
I had the best time of my life. Yeah, I had taken a role in command staff, and I was with our Army general at the time, and a squire, and we went to the woods battle meeting, and nobody wanted to command the woods battle. And I was a squire, but I had led the unbelted champions of the mid realm and had some command experience, and I watched all these foreign kings act like they didn't want to take responsibility for the woods battle. And I said, well, we can win this battle, and I can tell you how to do it, and if none of you want to command it, I will do it. And the king of the middle gave me the command as an unbelt, which is now slightly more common because we actually have a little bit more of a military structure in the mid realm, but at the time was pretty unheard of. And I fought the battle, and we didn't win, but we did really, really good. And then at the end of the battle, I was trying to kind of marshal my commanders as they came out and get them squared away and kind of get an after action review. And everybody was trying to get my attention, and I didn't realize that I had been called up, and that's when they put me on vigil.
That's super cool.
That's awesome. So you sort of got, and then did you get knighted in court later?
No, I got knighted on the battlefield at Pinzig prior to the battle.
Total field knighting.
Yes.
Awesome.
I totally want to do like that kind of vigil thing, but like for like the 20th anniversary of my knighting or something. Like I can't refuse a challenge.
Oh, Missy.
That would be awesome. Thank you for that.
Challenge accepted.
Well, if you do that, I will definitely come, and I will have a challenge for you. I promise.
Well, I know Olin will challenge me to wrestling or pudding wrestling or something. I still owe him that. But anyway, enough about me. I love that. I think that is so great because you get to totally push yourself outside of your comfort zone completely, and you get to meet a ton of people in a fun circumstance, right?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah,
Brannis constructed the perfect evening to test me.
That's really cool. Super cool.
That's
all right.
So we've got a lot of kind of funny questions, and we have a couple serious questions. What are you in the mood for?
I'll take a mix.
Okay. What is the favorite haircut you have ever given?
Oh, wow. That's got to be Egan's reverse mohawk.
Oh. and were they happy with this haircut?
Well, they asked for it, and I get called mischievous, but I only facilitate other people's poor choices. I don't create a no-win situation. I just help them along. So Egan, we had all cut mohawks in our hair for some reason. So there were 4 or 5 of us with mohawks, and I met Egan, who was squired to Keegan, which I don't recommend you ever taking a squire whose name rhymes with you. No, but if you make that decision, all the better. And Egan came up, and he was hanging out, and he's like, I'd like a haircut. And I said, well, what do you mean, Egan? And Egan had cultivated the style of Napoleon Dynamite. So if you can imagine that head, like a giant planetoid. And he was like, I want a mohawk. And I said, well, I can't give you a mohawk because a mohawk's just for my guys. I said, but I can give you a special haircut. Would you like a special haircut? And he said, yes, I'd like a special haircut. So he got a special haircut. I shaved about a 3.5-inch stripe down the center of his afro, effectively making him look like Sideshow Bob. So that's my favorite, but not my only.
So do you just bring cutting shears with you to events?
No, usually I borrow them. And the
Okay.
best thing about that is you never know how well charged they are. So you might only get half of a terrible haircut.
Cool.
And then you have to come back tomorrow for the recharge and the rest of it.
See, I was picturing this like bag of holding that you had for all your shenanigans. But,
Oh, I wish it was that good.
It's take advantage of what's here and now. Awesome. So one of the questions that Rifkin always asks in her ducal interviews is, how has your view of knighthood changed since, before you were knighted to now? And it sounds like you've been through some pretty drastic transformation. And I'm wondering about that.
I think my vision of knighthood has stayed consistent. What I feel a knight should be and what I feel a knight should do. I feel like what has changed for me is what I think a royal peer should be and what a royal peer should do. Because I think that the criteria for that accolade is pretty cut and dry. You win a tournament. And here I am with the highest accolade that I could have as a royal peer. And what example was I setting? And what was I doing as a person? And everything that I have done from the time that I became a count to current day is me trying to live up to my concept of what a duke of the society should be. And along the way, I was able to earn a laurel and a pelican and serve on the bod and be a Lion of Atenveld. But I still don't feel like I'm worthy of the highest award our society has to offer. But I'm still trying. The haircut sometimes get in the way.
But I think having fun and being approachable and being like a man of the people is really important too, right?
I think whimsy is underrated.
Well, I got a lot of that.
I'm beginning to understand that.
So I need to go and check the wording on this because I didn't write it down right. Rifkin, do you have a question?
Probably.
Okay.
So I've always thought like there's sort of this debate with royal peerage, right? Like people sort of denigrate it sometimes because they feel like it's not a bestowed peerage. Like there's all this bestowed versus whatever. But my feeling has always been like the royal peerage is the clearest and the least subjective of the peerages. You do the thing, you reign, you complete your reign successfully, and you get the thing, right? What do you feel like afterwards royal peers can do to continue to serve?
First of all, the thing that a royal peer needs to do to continue to serve is find their love of the game and promote that love and that spirit in other people. And wherever that takes them, as long as they're pure in their actions, remember the fun that they had coming up to that and provide that fun and hospitality to all members of the society as they progress, then they're doing a pretty good job as a royal peer. I think there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that title, and some people do a fantastic job of it, and some people allow their ego and their cult of personality to distort what can be a very positive role in the kingdom.
Yeah.
So a step away from the seriousness, I think, because it's Merrick. What was it like being the knight for the king of the bog? And you can skip it if you want to.
Ask that question one more time.
Okay. What was it like being the knight for the king of the bog?
So I think what Merrick is talking about is I had a squire who he nicknamed the King of the Bog, and he was my best friend in college, and he spent some time in the Two Chucks, and was kind of a rough character, who in his heart has always wanted to be a knight and tried very hard to live up to that goal. But I mean, we were in art school and we were super punk rock, or at least we thought we were super punk rock. And we did a bunch of very, very crazy stuff in an environment that encouraged us to be very crazy. And we built our friendship based on that. And then later, when he wanted to be a squire and pursue that path, it was very difficult not to fall into those old patterns. So I think that was very challenging. He has achieved the accolade, and I would say 75% of the time I'm really proud of him, which is pretty damn good, because I'm a little bit of a hard judge.
Interesting.
Thank you for answering that. What are your go-to shots for tournaments?
I throw an offside head, a face thrust, or a low leaning lower torso shot that is also a thrust.
And then there's a follow-up question to that. Mineko wants to know, did this earn you an interesting nickname?
It did, yeah. It did. Duke Ding Ding was my nickname. It's a legal target sometimes. Never with malice, only with love of the game. That
with love
are struck in that area, and it's probably their fault. They just moved the wrong way.
You're always aiming for the gut.
Sure. Yeah. Usually the belt.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I walked into that. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh.
Thanks, Mineko. Happy birthday.
Is it her birthday?
It's her birthday.
Yeah, it's her birthday.
Happy birthday, Mineko.
Look, I'm drinking out of the mug she made me for my pelican. It's really cool.
Oh, cute. Cool.
She's awesome.
She does
Happy
good
birthday.
Work. To Mineko.
All right. Okay.
Okay, I have another question off the board. As King of the Middle at Pinzig, what prompted the champion versus champion fight with Aldermere?
Oh, that's a good question. The King of Aldermere was a really, really good friend of mine, and I kind of expected him to ally with me, and things had been very friendly up until the war, but his rivalry and with the East caused him to make a choice of keeping our banner after the Woods battle for longer than is considered polite, and then kind of made some disrespectful comments. And my champion at the time was Servetus. He was not a knight. I knighted him at that war, but Servetus took great offense to that and felt that this person who was my friend should have treated it better. and treated me better. So he went and placed the challenge to the king, and of course the king can't fight in open combat, so he had his champion fight my champion, and it was epic. And there was crying and a lot of hugging, and Vitus defended me, and he was awesome, and every bit what I thought a champion should be. He was amazing.
Some Kith asked that question, so
that's Kith's knight, right, Vitus?
It is.
Are you asking more questions?
I'm reading you go.
Okay. I want to talk about your first reign because you were pretty young. It was right after you got knighted. What was surprising for you? What was unexpected?
Everything. So my consort had just retired from being a public school Spanish teacher, and she had been a Pelican and a Laurel, and very active in the Pinzig teaching community, and had a lot of really great ideas. And there was just so much stuff because I had to figure out how to, and I had tons of help. I mean, but I had to figure out how to negotiate with allies and not make an ass out of myself, and how to decide if people were worthy of a peerage. You know, the first night circle that I sat in, I was Prince. So I'd never seen that. So I had to rely on Elisa's experience to kind of what to expect in a peerage meeting, and what to expect. And, you know, it's really interesting when you're not a couple with your consort, how people will, and I imagine it happens if you are a couple, but people would try to split us on topics or agendas, and how we had to figure out how to always, even if we went separate events and separate places, be united in our goals and the face that we put forth to the public. So that was challenging, and how to talk to people, and how to be gracious and listen to everything and accept advice from your royal peers and encourage new people. And it was like a very, very long process in me trying to figure out what my job as king was. And one afternoon, I kind of came to an epiphany as I was watching a rerun of The Love Boat. And I saw that my job was to be Vicky.
I was going to say.
My job was to facilitate everybody else's good time. And when I started to do that, that's when I felt like I was the most effective as royalty. So I owe it all to The Love Boat.
That's awesome. The cruise director. I don't know if you know His Royal Majesty Vic from Avacol, but he always describes it kind of as like you are taking direction, like you're on a boat with all your people, and you're taking direction from your people, and you just steer where they say they want to go. So you're sort of, you know, and that to me is like the same thing. Like you're just sort of facilitating their fun. So I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and you got to be enthusiastic because they're enthusiastic, right. You know, even if it's something that you've never even heard of, right. You know, clearly they love it. So, you know, it's got to have merit, and you've got to encourage that, especially if you're sitting in that chair.
Very cool.
If your dog wants to join you, that's totally cool.
Yeah. Mine is snoring next to me. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but
And my cat sometimes joins in. So,
I'm surprised we haven't had a cat incursion yet, but it'll happen.
Okay. Well, no worries if it does.
Okay.
So after you, oh my God, I'm blanking on the kingdom.
Atlantia.
After you lived in Atlantia, where did you go from there? And what I'm really getting at is, how did you get a lion in Eatonville?
Oh,
How did that happen?
okay. So I went to Atlantia, and I was in Atlantia for a number of years. I met my wife, my second wife, and she was Duchess from Atlantia, and Duchess Ariel the Golden, and went to Atlantia, and I was very happy there. And eventually, Atlantia has a culture where they like back-to-back reigns, and I was very, very happy as a count. And there was some pressure from Atlantia for me to become a duke, because they felt I had the prowess, but was not a duke, and that was strange. And I would explain to them, I would be like, I'm totally cool with a count. Count's a better title. Nobody ever heard of Duke Dracula. So I was satisfied with that. And it wasn't until my lady Ariel said that she really wanted to reign one more time, and she wanted to do it with me. And then we made it happen. And I was a duke, and everybody in Atlantia was super happy. Well, I'm sure not everybody, but nobody cares about the people that weren't happy.
Not anymore, anyway.
Right.
So culturally, what was different between reigning in the Middle and reigning in Atlantia?
I feel like Atlantia is definitely more supportive of their sovereign, more I don't know, king's word is law, kind of thing. Whereas Mid-Realm likes to think that is the way that they are, but if you don't quite follow the way that they think that you should be, maybe your word isn't quite as law as they might. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, I do. Some kingdoms.
There's a much more passive aggressive undertone in the culture of the Midwest than the culture of the East Coast, Southern East Coast.
What I was going to say is the king's word is law. Kingdoms tend to be much more forgiving of breaches of tradition, because the king's word is law. And the kingdoms that aren't so king's word is law seem to get very upset, and there are consequences for those kind of things. At least that's been my view or my experience. So I don't know if that's what you mean, but
yeah, I think that is. And my my wife was very, very well loved in the kingdom, and they were very, very happy when she came back to the throne, and very, very happy that I made her as happy as I did. And that was kind of a great undertone for me moving to the kingdom. And I lived in Atlantia. I'm trying to circle back to the initial question of how I got to be a lion. So, while I was king of Atlantia, I met Duke Morgan, Morgan Claymore. There's like 75 Duke Morgan. So,
and I was going to say, which one?
Yeah. The one that matters for this story is Morgan Claymore. And I met I met him and his wife. They were reigning the first time in Atenveld while I was reigning the second time. And we became very good friends. And that plays into the story later. So unfortunately, I have a lot of luck, but people who have a lot of luck, it runs both good and bad. And my wife, Ariel, passed away from breast cancer.
Oh.
And I was living in Atlanta, and I met a wonderful lady who was from Atenveld, and she was a friend of my wife, and my wife helped her through her disease, and then we built a friendship after that, and which turned into a relationship, which brought her out to Atlanta originally, and then brought me to Atenveld. Came to Atenveld, where I already had friends waiting. Count Morgan at the time. One of the first events that I went to, he won his second crown. And that day I won the Warlord tournament and was asked to be his captain of his Queen's Guard, and served that year as in their retinue. And in that time, I was able to distinguish myself to him in the kingdom. And at his stepping down, he offered me or bestowed to me the Lion of Atenveld. I had a lot of friends in that kingdom, and a lot of love for that kingdom. It was interesting because there, in each kingdom that I've lived in, I got to be something else. It kind of in the mid realm, I got to be the young, rash, arrogant, top end unbelt who turns into a king. And then in Atlanta, I got to be a ruler for the people. And in Atenveld, I got to be a royal peer, and I got to be a example, and I tried to live up to that for that kingdom to the very best of my ability.
Very cool.
And now I'm back in the middle, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Communicating.
I got a comment from Casca. He says, "You were my champion. Were there any memorable highlights?"
Oh God, anytime that I got to hang out with Casca was a memorable highlight. I'm gonna try not to be emotional, but when I won that tournament, and just to feel those monstrous hands on your shoulder, and if he looks in your eye and you know he has faith in you, you can do anything. He is one of the most wonderful, inspiring, amazing people that I've ever met in this society.
We had the opportunity to interview him and cried the whole way through. And
yeah,
now I'm crying
he's
too.
great for that. I'm a little misty right now.
Yeah, me too. So
one of the things he did was for his champions, he was very into Dune, which I am too, a total nerd. And then of course everybody in Atenveld is like, oh, Atenveld was created to prove who was worthy and all that, kind of stuff. And he did the thing where his guard was his Fedaykin, and he put his bloody handprints on our shoulders, and we all wore his bloody handprints on our tunic, and I was the first because I was his king's champion. And when he did that, that was super memorable. Yeah, I have that tunic in my closet. I would love to wear it, but I'm afraid that it will disintegrate at some point, and then I won't have it. So it's like it's in my treasure box.
So I wanted to talk about your art a little bit. You said before, like, you had gone to art school, and I know that you're a chef in real life. Will you kind of tell us about your Laurel path and the art that you do in the SCA?
Yeah, so like in the mid-realm, all I did was fight.
Okay.
And then when I got to Atlantia, I got a really great job. And I had been in North Carolina, and I got a job as a chef for the Smithsonian.
Oh,
and
Oh, wow.
I worked on the National Mall, and I did all the catered events that the Smithsonian did, to include Kennedy Center honors and that kind of thing. One of the events that I got to do was I got to do Benjamin Franklin's 100th birthday. And for that, they wanted a complete period menu. So I worked with the chef at Jamestown to do the research for that. And in that, I kind of fell in love with researching period dishes, and lo and behold, the SCA was there for me again, giving me an avenue to do that. And I met Master Robert, who was my Laurel, and he was very into feeding the people. So we started doing feasts together with another couple of gentlemen, and they called them the Giant Feasts, and they became very famous in Atlantia. And I've probably right about now cooked about 70 or 80 feasts.
wow.
Which I guess is a pretty good number. It just seems like another day of work to me, but it's super cool. So I had committed to cook 12th Night Feast. And I happened to win crown before then. So they were like, are you still going to cook 12th Night? And I'm like, yeah, I would have had to cook if I lost. So I don't see why I would get out of it if I won. So all 12th Night, I got to spend the time in the kitchen, which was pretty cool. And then Duchess Ariel got to be entertained by all the foreign dignitaries who were coming to see if they could get Atlantia to fight with them at Pinzig. And I spent the whole time in the kitchen, and it was pretty cool. But I did get to meet the Prince of the East and the Princess of the East at the time, and they were awesome. And at that event, at the end of Feast, His Majesty Ragnar offered me my Laurel, which was pretty cool. I had done a lot of things. I went to Kingdom Arts and Science competition, and I didn't submit to judge, but they had all these different static displays on, and I made a period German 15th century fried cheese. And everybody was walking around, and I'm making this fried cheese in this room, and there's no food on the site. And I'm making fried cheese, and I'm like, hey, I know you're checking things out, but would you like to try this delicious fried cheese? And I ended up winning Populous Choice, even though I wasn't competing that day.
Nice.
That's awesome. So
go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you also do quite a bit of painting, right?
I do. I've done some scrolls. I've done some painted work. I've done some wood carving on the travel thrones. Pretty much, I'm always doing something. I would even lump food into it. What I'm really good at is color, composition, and balance, whether that be flavors, whether that be weight of line, whether that be paint on canvas. Those are the things that I excel at as an artist, and am able to apply to my craft.
Very cool.
That's really cool. And so in a similar vein, what was your journey to Pelican?
Well, I don't really even know. I think it just happened. I
I'm
served.
laughing because that's a really common response.
It's what, if you continue to serve and you continue to find vitality and need in the society, I feel like eventually you'll make it there. I served on the BOD. I've served as an investigator for the Office of the Seneschalate. I've served as, I just stepped down, in fact, as a deputy for armored combat for the Society Earl Marshal. I ran Marshal's Courts at Pinzig for a number of years. And generally, if it's a really kind of a neat or interesting opportunity and you ask me, I'll probably say yes. So that is how I ended up becoming a Pelican.
What was the best part of your work with the BOD for you?
When you love something, the best gift that you can give is sacrificing yourself so that others don't have to see the dark side or the ugly side of things. And I was given the opportunity to do that. I was given the opportunity to protect the society that I love and keep that curtain pulled so that other people could have their stardust. And that's what sticks out the best to me.
It's an awesome answer. Kip says that you are one of the on a small list of folks who he will always stay for their feast because it's always the bomb.
He is only saying that because it's absolutely true.
I love that. So I have a question for you. When I was going through your pictures, you have a ton of different fighting kits. Like you have some really beautiful armor. Do you put those together? Do you have like different kits for different eras or? So
at one time I had 15 different full kits. And
oh my God.
Our goal, I owned a tattoo shop with Sir Grimmer from Atlanta, who sadly has passed away. And he was my partner, and we had decided that we were never going to repeat armor at Pinzig. So he and I built 15 different kits each. And we lived together at the time, so that's a lot of armor to be in a house. But yes, most of my armor, with the exception of helmets, I've done myself, the leather work and the design. But I do love it. So,
do you have them displayed in your home?
No, I have a very, very beautifully decorated home.
Okay.
That is not a SCA home at all. Okay. I have a closet and all my garb lives in the closet, and I have a shop and all my armor lives in the shop. And I'm not a big.
I get that. I get it. I don't show it off either, but
except for that wall behind you.
Yeah, except for the wall behind you. This is my office, which is like fighting dedicated.
Right on.
Yeah.
And this is my workshop and jewelry and costuming. So it's all
some really beautiful stuff I see behind you there.
Thank you.
So do we want to look at some of the pictures? Okay, I will share the screen then. that sharing?
It is sharing.
Awesome. So if I just bring up the pictures, if you just kind of want to explain what we're looking at, that would be great.
Sure. This is a box that I made for Countess Mariana. And the box was created by Eggle. And then I did the wood carving. The top of the box is carved as well, with her arms, but the painting and the wood carving is my contribution to that.
Very cool.
That's my shield. I fight with it and probably paint it way more frequently than I should. I got in the habit of actually having to sand it off because I would add weight to it that I didn't want.
Because you were repainting it so much?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
So,
you want me to go back?
Nope, that's cool. That is a scroll that I did, or an illumination. Somebody else did the lettering, and I illuminated that. So that's that.
Did you come up with the picture and everything?
I can't remember, but I think it's from a Russian storybook.
Okay. It's very pretty.
Thank you. That is a stenciled fighting tunic that me and my squire worked on. And I think we probably took us like remaking certain panels 3 or 4 times because we did them on the wrong side. So I'd end up with like, oh yeah, that's going to be party colored. No.
What's the story behind the seahorse?
Seahorse is Atlantia.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's along the same lines. That was my awesome fighting tunic that me and my squire worked on as well.
So how important is it to you to have your squires also be service and art oriented?
My squires have to do everything. And sometimes that's real challenging for them. But I don't feel like, I don't feel like specializations is for insects. Let's do it all. The whole world's out there. You want to live in your own little box. It's going to be a pretty boring little box. And anybody that achieves knighthood and was my squire, or achieves a laurel and was my apprentice, they got to know how to do everything in the game, or at least be able to facilitate that fun for everybody else. And that's the legacy that I want them to pass on. So that's what I judge them by.
Very cool.
That's my pelican scroll. It's amazing. My friend Fia did that for me, and she's an amazing artist, and it's got all kinds of wonderful symbolism in it, and it kind of took my breath away when they held that up. It was like, oh, wow.
Takes my breath away just looking at it. It's gorgeous.
It's amazing. It's amazing. That's a helmet that Casca and I worked on together for rapier. It was converted out of an Indian kit, but we put the perf plate in, and it ended up being a lot more work for Casca than we initially thought it would be, but it came out. And that's his shop that was in Arizona, and it's probably one of my favorite places on earth. I got to learn how to weld there and spent a lot of time with him and his wonderful family.
It's just a different.
Yep, that's more of it. So this was Feast of the Butchers, and it was held at Ohio Vegetable Institute, which is a great name. And basically a bunch of chefs got together, and in the morning we started with a live pig, and we butchered the pig, and then we took and used everything from snout to tail to create a meal. And this is tazo ham and andouille sausage and blood sausage and
all the meat.
Yep. And I think those are pork rinds at the bottom, or chicharron, and I got to do the presentation there. So that's kind of what my food looks like. And that's what you could expect if you came to one of my feasts.
It's just beautiful.
That is me. I think I am 25 years old, and I am king of the mid-realm.
Very cool.
That is late in Pinzig. Got some glorious sideburns and
So is in the middle, is Pinzig as big of a deal as in the east? Like if you win the Pinzig reign, is it right afterwards? Are you on the phone like putting together allies?
Yeah, actually, the very next event that I went to was in Atlanta, and I had one crown, and I went to Atlanta for their crown tournament. That was my first event. That is me and Elise, and we are making the new Baron and Baroness of the Cleflands. That is me and Duchess Ariel, and that is our procession into to Pinzig. Opening ceremonies. That's me.
In super cool armor.
Yes, I did make that armor. That was my my Greek kit, and I probably fought in that for 6 or 8 months. It was really nice.
Is it like linen over leather, or is it the traditional layers of linen, or?
It's traditional layers of linen, and then there is augmented leather in it as well. And wow. It's all hand stitched together and layered with resin, and then the leather's carved and painted. It was a good project.
It's really cool.
It's very pretty.
Oh, that is me about to take a squire, not terribly 3 years ago. That's me fighting. I'm in Aitenvelt, but I'm at Pinzig. Looks like Craven's helmet, and I'm standing by Thomas de Revel, Count Thomas.
What's the symbolism with the Medusa head?
That's my arms.
Oh, okay.
Very cool. Oh, and that's it. So I will stop sharing. There we go. So I absolutely love and I don't know if this is an Aitenvelt thing or maybe just you and your friends thing, but you guys all have so many different fighting tunics and fighting looks. I just really love it. It adds so much to the game. I don't know. I'm just expressing my appreciation. It's very cool.
Yeah, I just don't like to fight in things that are dirty. Like I don't like.
You just don't want to smell.
No, exactly. Like there's no reason for that. The worst thing is standing next to somebody who's like their Gambazin smells like their cat has used it as a litter box, and it's like, dude, I love that you love this game, but I'm gonna put a fresh shirt on.
Nice. Very nice.
Oh, that's awesome. So I have a totally weird random question for you.
Sure.
Did you ever receive a wool bag with Medusa appliqued and embroidered on it when you were sitting his crown?
Yeah, I have it in my closet. I take it everywhere. It's one of my favorite possessions.
I think I made that.
Oh, that is so cool.
Like it has the white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's so cool. I never know who got it. So
that's me. That's mine. It's funny because they thought that it came to Ariel, and they thought that it was her arms.
Yep.
When we opened our gifts and everything, I was like, woohoo! And she's like, it has my name on it. I'm like, no, it doesn't. But yeah, that goes everywhere with me. That's one of my favorite possessions.
Oh, you just made me so happy because it's one of the favorite pieces I've done, and I never knew what happened to it.
Well, I have it, and I love it, and I use it, and it's phenomenal.
Yay!
I'm so glad that I got to find out that you made that and be able to tell you how much I love it, because it is definitely one of my.
Now we'll have to exchange pictures just to make sure that it's the one I made. But
I'm sure it is.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah.
I remember it going to Atlantia.
It's awesome. You are very talented.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun to make. Yeah. All right. So now I'm blushing. Okay. So, Rifkin, do you have any other questions?
Yeah. So when I was stalking you, I noticed that you have augmentation of arms from like 3, or maybe it's 2 different kingdoms, but you have it from the east and from Atlantia, and then you have something from Trimaris too, like some Lion d'Or or something.
I do.
So what do you do that impacts these other kingdoms that you don't seem to have lived in?
I have absolutely no idea, other than I really, really love what I'm doing, and I want everybody around me to have the best time possible. And if that means that sometimes you have to say hard things, I'm the guy that can say the hard things. And if that means that sometimes you've got to laugh at yourself, I'm the guy that can laugh at themselves. And I try to treat everybody the way that I would like to be treated, with the exception of possibly giving them haircuts. And I guess I'm doing something right, because a lot of people feel to have more respect for me and give me more honors than I ever thought I deserved.
Well, I think it's super cool. I am, and I think it's hard to ask you why. It's, that's a hard question. But it reflects very well. And I just, I think you would be a very, very neat person to hang out with. That's my impression. So I don't know.
Well, that's cool. Maybe we'll get the chance, because
maybe
I think you guys seem pretty neat yourselves.
Duchess Livia just PM'd me a photograph of the scroll that you did for her.
Oh, right on.
It's beautiful. I wish I could figure out, it's on my other computer, and I don't know how to make it go on the screen, but it's really pretty.
Why don't you send it to me and I'll make it go on the screen?
Okay.
You didn't by chance bring your sword?
Which,
like your rattan sword, like, so we can look at it and see what your preferences are?
I can send a squire to the basement for it.
Will you do that?
Yeah. While you show that picture, I'm going to grab my Medusa bag and a sword, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Cool. I better get on finding the picture then. Okay.
While he's gone, you guys should send us all the questions that you haven't asked yet that you want to ask, and we can get on those too.
Okay. So Rifkin, you should get that.
Okay.
And while he's gone, we'll do our usual end of show, what's coming up next, so that we don't have to do it later. Next week, we are going back to Atenvelt, and I'm probably not pronouncing this right, but we're interviewing Ari Usni for the sisters interview, and the Laurel interview is going to be a bardic Laurel from Montier. Her name's Gala, and she sings in like a bunch of different languages. So that's going to be really cool.
So,
okay.
Is that
yes.
it?
Yeah.
100%.
Look, it's like in pristine condition, because I take really good care of all of my things.
It is. Oh, I'm so happy right now. I'm going to show you a picture on my Facebook of it in process, so I can prove that I made it.
Because we need proof.
That's so cool.
Can I share the screen of the scroll while we're waiting?
Yes, please.
Nope. There we go. Can we all see that?
Yes.
Excellent. That's very beautiful.
Thank you.
What's this scroll for?
It's for Livia. It's her ducal scroll, and she kind of inspired the imagery. She did an Egyptian theme, and Duchess Nichelle did the illumination, the hieroglyphics. We kind of worked on it together.
Very cool. It does. It looks like Livia. It does. So we're blessed to have them up here now. Oh, there it is.
They're awesome.
Yep. Wow, that that made my year, I think.
We have the little things.
It was my hands down my favorite royalty gift, and I'm not just saying that because you guys are interviewing me. But you saw I knew exactly where it was.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, let's look at that sword.
Oh,
Or is still waiting? Well, okay, while we wait, I didn't see what I was doing. I am actually going to be on Between Two Peers on Friday. So that should be interesting. I'm not sure I'm funny enough for that show, but we will see. And then on Sunday, I am interviewing.
So Rifkin, we should send in all the questions to make you profoundly uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, you can tell when I'm uncomfortable because my shoulders like go up to my ears like that. But so anyway, I'm interviewing Duke Sheridan on Sunday and then Duke Aldermere on Monday. So that's what's coming up on my end. And then we're just waiting for the tool, but we could ask other questions while we wait for the tool.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to ask a philosophical peerage question then. What do you think the Order of Chivalry does well, and what do you think we could work on?
I think the Order of Chivalry promotes fighting culture and promotes prowess within the SCA. What can they do better? Just about everything else.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, what's your favorite drinking game?
Whatever one I made up recently. Rogue Dice is pretty good, but that's kind of a cautionary tale in and of itself.
Okay. What is your favorite buffet that you gave as king?
Oh, wow.
Or buffet. I mean, whichever.
That had to be... I have a sword now.
Okay.
Sir Vitus's buffet. I gave him to the head with the Sword of State.
Oh.
How did you do that? Was it like the flat of the blade?
Oh man, it's a great story. Do we have time for a story?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. So Vitus never called me by anything other than Tommy. And he's got a very, very strong Kentucky accent. And he came up to me like 5 minutes before and he goes, "Tommy, do not pussify the sanctity of this event by striking me with an unmanful blow." Well, challenge accepted. So I struck him in the head with the last 3 inches of a two-handed sword of state, and I bent the sword.
I was gonna say, did it break the sword?
No. They remade the sword and everything's all better, but I did bend the sword and felt really, really bad about it. But it was an amazing buffet. And afterwards he came up to me and he gave me a hug and he said, "All I saw was a great green flash and then I passed out. It was perfect. I love you."
That's really funny. When Rifkin was knighted, our mom was petrified because she thought she was going to get hit in the head with a sword for her buffet. She was convinced that was going to happen. And I couldn't talk her out of believing that. And you actually did that. So yeah, that's amazing.
All right, let's look at this sword.
So this is my sword.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to show you all of it. It
Okay.
is 32 inches with a thrusting tip. It has a very narrow handle on the inside with a trigger, stainless steel basket weight, and it weighs nothing. It is super light. Let me think of individuals who fight with a sword, or individuals whose sword I've used that I've liked. Duke Phelan makes a pretty damn good sword. A lot of the Dark Yarders use a sword similar to this. They prefer a little more weight, but I don't have the problem that a lot of people do where they chew through rattan. This sword is probably 2 years old and still functioning because I'm more apt to stab you than hit you. And if I hit you, I'm not ever going to hit you someplace that you have armor.
Cool. What do you have the handle wrapped with? Is that hockey tape?
Yeah, it's a low tack grip tape.
Okay, cool. Very cool. And your thrusting tip, is it just, foam and
some?
Do you tool dip it? Is that tool dip or is that tape?
It's not. It's just taped, and it's 2 layers of like the foam that gardeners use to kneel on.
Oh yeah.
And this one feels like a little bit of plywood. No, I'm kidding. It has a leather disc over the end as well to kind of keep the foam from breaking down.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, should we do a final 10 then?
Go for it.
Okay, I will do the final 10. All right. What event have you never gone to that you would like to go to?
Sport of Kings?
Yes. Next year. My birthday weekend, August 19th through the 22nd.
Hopefully.
I will make it 1 year for sure.
If you come, we will put you up in a tent and feed you and beer you and all of that good stuff.
All right.
If you could fight anyone in the world, who would it be?
Oh, I feel like I fought everybody that I really, really wanted to fight. Yeah, I've had some really great fights, and I've kind of sought out the ones that I've wanted.
When you go to Pinzig,
honestly,
okay.
If I could fight anybody in the world, I wish I had the opportunity to fight Duke Titus. He and I were friends, and he was really good friends with my current lady, and we never actually got an opportunity to cross swords. So I'm going to definitely lean on that.
What is your favorite Pinzig story that we haven't already talked about?
Do you guys know Tyndall? He's the current Prince of King of the East.
I don't know if I know him, but I've seen pictures.
So he was a really good friend of mine when he was an unbelt, and we hung out a lot. And one night I was doing a security shift, and came across an abandoned camp with a huge campfire roaring in it. And it took us like 6 fire extinguishers to put out that. That's a pretty good story. Last Pinzig, the Queen of the East, I was working a security shift, and the Queen of the East's gondola got stolen. And we were out searching for a gondola, me and my lady, in the golf cart looking for this stolen gondola. And you'd think that'd be a pretty easy thing to find, but a lot of mayhem ensued, and that's a pretty fun story. I don't know. I have a ton of Pinzig stories, but maybe it's time for the next question.
Okay, all right. Who are your favorite people to watch fight?
Duke Stephen of Beckingham is awesome to fight. He's probably my favorite fight, and to watch fight. I love the way he moves, the improbable things that he does. I like to watch Count Merrick fight. He has really good control of the fight. Um, I like to watch Brannis fight.
Cool. Okay. Do you have a hero in the SCA, and if so, who is it?
Well, I have a lot of heroes in the SCA, and I could tell you names, but you wouldn't know who they are. They're not your dukes or your counts. They're the people in your local group who are making the game real for everyone every day. And those are my heroes. But if I had to put number one crown on a name that you would know, Duke Brannis has been a constant mentor, inspiration, and hero for me since I was 15 years old.
Cool. I love the answer of the people that I wouldn't know too, because I think a lot of people's heroes are actually not fighters. It's these people that do all this work and make the game fun for everyone else. And they are, I mean, amazing. One of mine is Master Aranius in our kingdom, who is just such a facilitator. Anyway, if you had to recommend one event in your kingdom for someone out of kingdom to go to, who would it be?
Candlemas. Candlemas is the best.
Cool. What book do you think everyone on the path to knighthood should read?
Oh, wow. White Company is really great. Sir Nigel. I had to read The Flower of Chivalry. Lots of great stuff there. I would put Dune in there for sure. And there's a book, modern Western book. They made a movie out of it, but the movie's not anywhere near as good, called Appaloosa, which had the best explanation of loyalty in it that I've ever seen illustrated in print.
I'm writing that one down. I've never heard that one
too.
before. If you could change one thing about the SCA, what would it be?
I would like to see the SCA be as inclusive as everybody wants it to be.
Good answer.
And I would kill the internet.
You would kill the internet. I would just make the internet so that people treated each other on the internet like they do in person. Like, we're people and we have feelings and we should treat each other like we want to be treated.
For sure. Yeah. For sure.
What is your favorite in-kingdom tradition?
I think it's really cool that the Mid-Realm has a lot of very subtle traditions. Like there's a stone missing from the ancient and honorable crown that represents a king of the middle that had absconded with the regalia at one time. I think that's neat. There's a lot of interesting cultural anthropology. I think the one of my favorite traditions is the King's Sword of Atenvelt and the story behind that. That's an amazing story. If you guys don't know that, that's really cool. Anything that is based on a situation that could have been a tragedy, where the kingdom has taken an opportunity not to forget it, but to remember it in a respectful way and make the best out of it. Those kind of things always make me like, oh yeah, that's cool.
It's been one of my favorite things about doing these interviews is hearing all of these stories, and like the missing jewel was one of them. I had no idea, and it's such a cool thing. Let's see.
The King Sword of Atenvelt came up in 2 different interviews and got covered really well. So it's been an incredible learning experience for us to get to know people and to hear their stories. It's been a gift.
Yeah, really.
And thank you for being so forthcoming and open with us and sharing your journey and your story. Really appreciate it.
I have one more question.
Okay,
Sure.
well, I just had to say thank you.
What do you think is the most important trait to become a successful fighter?
Hope.
Hope.
You have to hope, you have to believe, and you have to persevere. And I mean, I'm not an incredibly physically talented individual. I believe everybody has it in them to reach that level. It's just that they have to believe in themselves, and they have to hope, and they have to believe in that hope.
Very cool. Well, I echo Ishaxi. Thank you so much. This has been great fun and super interesting. And you're such a great mix of fun and sincere. So this has been a very pleasurable way to spend the evening. So thank you for that.
Thank you. This was great.
And thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Bye.